But it's very common for advertisers to want to just say, well, advertising doesn't work. Well, no, advertising works, but when it comes to advertising, there's a lot of mistakes you can make, and it depends on the genre, because you can advertise in a multitude of fashions. You can advertise online in the form of digital banner ads, text ads, native stories, dedicated emails. I can go into these definitions if you want, but and then television. You've got television ads with both live and pre-recorded. And then you've got different lengths, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 120 seconds, sponsored programs that are half an hour long, like the late night, ad machines. And then, of course, and the same thing with radio. So there's different pitfalls for different platforms. But if I were to sum it all up, just in general, biggest mistakes that I see are typically, one, not a clean, clear message. You have to know what your message is, and it has to be easy to follow. Everyone's attention span is really short these days, so you need to kind of get it quickly. That's why branding is important, and then of course your messaging is going to be very important. So how you frame that message so that you capture their interest and then basically motivate them to say yes or to take action, and that's where the term call to action comes from. So I think that a bad message, advertising in the wrong place. In my particular industry, every single audience, even in the conservative side, has nuances. So for instance, the Bill O'Reilly audience, this is one thing interesting that one of my clients did a television buy on Fox News. And they bought a block of programming that had Bill O'Reilly, Megyn Kelly, and Sean Hannity. And all three performed differently because Fox News reaches 100 million homes. So there's enough individuality to each show that the audience would react differently to the product. So the Bill O'Reilly people are not the same people that are watching Megyn Kelly. I mean, there is some crossover, but to view the audience as myopic is a mistake. So that would be the second issue, which is know your audience. You also want to know what things are worth. What's the value? And so I think that varies from product to product. When publishers or television networks or radio companies build rates, they build rates off what they think their value is. And obviously, if all their advertisers are failing, then they know their rates are too high. And if everybody wants to renew and quickly and sign annual agreements, they know the rates are too low. So it's kind of it's not an exact science. Sometimes you got to figure it out, and you want to make sure that your rates work for the majority of your advertisers. So some are going to do better than others. And so there's various ways to optimize your advertising. But if you have a complete miss, then it's probably either the wrong audience or there's something wrong with your offer. But there's so many different things you can do wrong in advertising. And so that's why it's always smart to start small. That way you can get these things down pat. What a lot of digital advertisers will do is they'll start with their existing customers and they'll test new offers on the customers they already have. See what's the response. And then they'll try those offers out to people who are not their customers. So there's various ways you can protect against it, but I think that going too big too soon, not thinking through your message, not knowing your audience. I mean, there's so many mistakes you can make in the process, but it's very common for advertisers to want to just say, well, advertising doesn't work. Well, no, advertising works, but not all advertising works, and not all advertising works at the same rate. And so that requires, thoughtful planning, preparation, execution, and a whole litany of other things that I could talk to you for the next month on all the nuances. But that's why you need to make sure that you have a good sales rep who you're working with, or if you have an agency, a good agency that's smart and thoughtful. And that's primarily, back to your solution question, what I was trying to accomplish with SOV, which is being thoughtful in my approach in helping them ask the right questions and enter into the right platform with the appropriate amount of advertising, with the right message, and interacting at the right rates with those audience, picking the right audience. And we're not always right. We make mistakes, and I don't want to get into those, but I'd like to say that 100% of our tests were successful. Some are, some aren't. And so you have to be willing. You have to be willing to have successes and have failures, because there's no way to know sometimes without trying an audience out. So you try to find the best opportunities that allow you an entry point to an audience, that mitigate the risk so that you can test out the audience to see if it's the right fit. And you're going to be wrong sometimes. And that's just the nature of the business. Not all advertising is going to work. And so finding that sweet spot of how to test an audience without going in too thin or over leveraging yourself is, that's the magic.